Hello everyone, this is Faisal. I'm a certified high performance coach and I help entrepreneurs and professionals live happy, fulfilled, and successful lives by raising their performance and potential in everything that they do. And today's interview, I'm interviewing the one and only Lisa Glass, one of my closest friends, a women's wellness coach, a high performance coach, and a health coach, and also a dental hygienist, or a person from the dental industry. Sorry, that's an inside joke. But I'm really excited to have Lisa on this episode because her main niche, the people that she works with as a coach, is women, and more specifically moms. And in today's episode, we're going to talk about how moms can raise their performance and potential in everything they do. How can they live more healthy lives, emotionally, physically, and mentally. And Lisa is going to enlighten us with a lot of her knowledge and experience. Before I go to Lisa, I think we have everything recorded. Yeah, it's good. All right, so Lisa, good to have you here.
Thank you very much. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it is. I'm excited about this. So tell us about yourself and how you got here. How did you get to be a coach in so many different areas?
Yeah, well, I am a mom of three.
Okay.
My oldest, Bobby, is almost 14. My daughter, Riley, will be 11 this month. And my son, Caden, is 7. So that's my number one job. But how I got to where I am as far as coaching, so basically after I had Caden, I kind of, it wasn't even really one moment, but kind of looking back, around that time that he was around 5 months old or so, I kind of had this realization that for, a good 7 years, I had been having kids, nursing babies, taking care of little ones. And I just started getting this feeling that, I needed to take better care of me. So I started kind of diving into what we refer to as personal development, but basically, a journey of self-care, taking better care of my health, taking better care of my emotional state, my spiritual state, and really pulling in inspiration and resources that helps that to grow. So it started out for me just trying to get more healthy and fit. And I started doing Beachbody programs and, changed up my nutrition. And then it's kind of like one thing led to another. And I found myself, reading books and listening to podcasts that had to do with, those things I just said, like my health, my self-care, my emotional state, just success and how that could look in my life. Of course, I read a lot of parenting books, things like that. But it eventually led me to going to a live event, which was with Brendon Burchard. And, I had gotten my personal training certification and I wanted to grow my business as far as training. And I ended up at Experts Academy, and at Experts Academy, he offered his, certified high performance coaching program, and it really intrigued me. And, I decided to do that. And from there, I really found a love for coaching.
Okay.
So that's how I ended up where I am now.
All right, that's really great. But you didn't mention how blessed you were to meet me at Experts Academy.
Yes, that was a huge part of my life. I was very blessed.
Oh, that's good. I was blessed too.
Yeah.
So why is it that you are working with with women and moms specifically?
Well, part of my journey with personal development, I kind of started on that track after I had Caden. And then when Caden was 13 months old, my husband and I separated and I went through a divorce. And it was a very challenging part of my life. But I really had to, as a single mom, really step up for myself and my kids. And I feel like all of the work that I had been doing with personal development, and then in the years since then, the coaching that I've received and given has really added so much value to my life. And I feel like the things that I've learned and been able to experience through that not only really helped me through the most difficult time of my life, which was the divorce, but it's just put me and my kids in such a better place, divorce or not, and so all those things that I've experienced personally, I feel if moms especially, because I feel like moms, it's so easy to get caught in a rut and, just manage and take care of everybody, that it's easy for this kind of stuff to like slide away. And then you kind of left with this big void in your life. And it's done so much for me that I wanted to be able to share that, with other moms so that they could experience that same kind of value and intentionality in their lives.
Oh, that's great. That's amazing. And like you mentioned, that so many moms, they're unaware of how to take care of themselves, especially when a challenging times come. I mean, that having a child is challenging to begin with, but then you're dealing with other problems in life, and on top of that, you're not taking care of yourself. And self-care, a lot of times, it's a very vague term, but it's taking care of yourself mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually, like you said. How do you do that? And we're not really taught these things in school, or even a lot of times within our families, unless somebody's aware of this. Mm-hmm. And it's I mean, I want to thank you on behalf of all the moms, because it's such a great work you're doing. Because at the end of the day, if the moms are well balanced, society's future depends on children. And if the moms are well balanced, then what did you say? What was your sentence that you said? What are you in your home?
Oh, that I'm the pulse of the home.
You are. So moms are literally not only the pulse of the home, but the pulse of society, because they determine how the children are going to be, for the most part. Obviously, the father has something to say too in the process. Yes. I'd like to think so, at least.
Yes, we'll give you credit too.
I'll take some credit, maybe 30%. I'll take that.
But I think that was a bit of a realization for me too at some point, that I've always loved kids even before I had kids. And I think my first degree, my first schooling degree that I got was in early childhood education, and I worked in daycare, and I nannied. I was very involved with children. And I think if you had asked me how I could make the world a better place, it would be, like focus on the children. Let's do stuff for the children. And then at some point in my own life, I realized the best way to do that is to affect the moms, get the moms in a good place, and it's all good, and the stuff with the kids will fall into place.
Yes, definitely. I completely agree with that. Now, let's talk about a little bit about specifics. So all these years that you've been doing your research, you're studying, taking care of yourself, and with so much experience with 3 kids, I have a lot of respect for that, because with the 1 kid, we have our hands full, and then a lot of times you had to do that alone with 3 kids, and that takes a lot. And I've seen my mom take care of us, and my mom had to work too when we were young. Well, at least not in the beginning, but after a couple of years, even though my oldest sisters, they did a lot for us. I mean, they took care of us a lot of times. But I know how hard it was for her. And I see so many moms, including my wife, Sarah, who takes care of my daughter. it's challenging, even though right now she's just focusing on that. It's still very challenging, and we want to get into the meat of the topic. Hopefully vegans are not watching, but if they are, that's just an analogy.
Yeah, you know how that is for me.
Yeah, that's Lisa is a vegan, so I didn't mean that in any way in an offensive way. So we're gonna go into the body of what we're talking about. Damn it, none of these words are coming out right. So we'll go into it. So I'll ask you a question. What are the top 3 lessons for you? It might be top 4. You said that you have one extra one, so you'll have a bonus one too. Top 3 lessons that you have for moms in terms of living a better life, taking care of themselves, and growing.
Yeah. So the first one, and this was big for me personally to realize, is not forgetting the value of taking care of you. You know, I think a lot of moms have a lot of guilt around, you know, spending time on themselves, you know, whether that be, you know, with working out or, you know, going out of the house, you know, leaving their kids behind to do anything. But it not only is important because it gives you the energy that then you can bring back to the house and, you know, be a better version of you for your kids, but it models to them the importance of taking care of you, you know, and when you think about it in terms like that, you know, you want to show your kids how you want them to live their best lives, you know, so if you're constantly, you know, giving and giving and giving and not taking any time to replenish yourself, then that's exactly what you're showing them, you know, and then that's what they're going to do out in the world, you know. And I think whenever you can take something and like view it in the eyes of what you're showing your kids, what you're modeling for them, it helps to give you a lot of perspective. So, you know, with this one, I always think you know, the airplane, you know, with the oxygen mask. And I think it's so true, you know, for moms. You need to put your oxygen mask on before you put your kids' oxygen mask on. It's kind of counterintuitive, but, you know, it really, like we were just saying, you're the pulse, you know, like if you're not taking care of you, then you can't give to others.
Yeah.
So
that's a really great point, and not just for moms. I mean, it works with everyone in general, but I think more so with moms because naturally moms are giving. I mean, from biological, from mental, from an emotional perspective, they're supposed to be giving. I mean, that's whether you want to or not, you're gonna give.
Yeah.
You're gonna take care of people, especially your children. But if you don't take care of yourself, if your cup is empty, eventually you're going to get frustrated. Mm-hmm. And that's where we go where moms get frustrated. They take out their frustration on their kids, on their partners, on the rest of the family, and it creates this chain reaction of frustration after frustration, and a few years down the road they don't even know what happened.
Exactly.
But all it was that they didn't take care of themselves.
Yeah. And it doesn't even have to be anything elaborate. It just has to be consistent.
Yeah. So what do you mean by consistent?
You know, like it won't work to, you know, like go to take some time to go to the gym, you know, like one day and then not go for the rest of the month. Yeah. You know, that's not going to be enough to sustain you, you know, and it's not going to be enough to cause any shift inside of you long term. You know, like you need to figure out ways that you can, you know, consistently, you know, like a little every day, ideally, you know, like do something, you know, that's going to, like you said, fill your cup so that you can have a maintained and sustainable level of energy so that you can give.
Can you give a few examples of what are some small things that moms can do to take care of themselves mentally, physically, emotionally? I know I'm putting you on the spot.
You are putting me on the spot. You know, I mean, I think everybody knows, you know, physically how it's important to, you know, eat nutritional foods, to take some time to move your body. But, it doesn't have to be, like I love P90X. It does not have to be P90X, like you can go out for a walk and move your body. You can 5 minutes, jump around for a little bit, and that's going to like raise your level of energy. Mentally, I think is probably different for everybody, but just to give my own examples, for me, like I enjoy having a little bit of time that I can read every day. That to me, it gives me a break from whatever's happening, in the house. And it also is an opportunity for me to, have some sort of, new information coming in, which is important to me. Spiritually, I think, again, it could look different for everybody. For somebody, it might be, like taking the time to go, to, a place of worship. For me, it would be more, like fitting in time to meditate, which again could be 5 minutes, it could be 20 minutes, so you have to kind of see in your life, like what fits in, where you can fit it in, but you make it work on some level.
Okay. Well, that's, what about emotionally?
Emotionally, it can look different for people too. And I think, for me, that has really become really tuning in with myself and my feelings and my intuition. And, being aware, I think, is the biggest thing emotionally. And then letting others around you know where you're at. So for me, if I'm having a bad day or I'm not in the greatest of moods, I'm not going to try to push it down. I'm going to move through it because it's going to go away. It will pass. But, I'll let everybody know that and kind of give it some space and honor it.
Okay. So what you're saying is to feel, if you ever feel anything, whether that be stressful or good, give yourself time to feel that.
Yeah.
And process that. Don't be in a rush to get rid of it. And on top of that, express that as well if you can.
Right.
Okay, that's great. I love those examples. See, it's good to be specific. I used to be very vague. I'm learning to be specific too.
Yeah, me too.
All right. So was that, there's a third one?
The first one. So the second one was making sure that you schedule time with your partner and with your friends, without the kids. Because again, I think for moms, like that's something that is very easy not to do because you feel like you have to give whatever time you have, to your children. But this is another area that, it's important to nurture your other relationships, both because it's going to, lift your energy up and keep your cup full. And also because it's what you want to show your kids. You want them to have good relationships with other people, and spend quality time with their friends. And, I think also just taking a look at who your people are. You want to evaluate the quality of the people that you're spending the most time with, so that the limited time that you have as a mom, you can be spending with the people that are enhancing your life.
That's a very, very important point that you brought up, because a lot of times we feel like we should just spend our time with anybody that comes with us, but the quality of the relationships vary a lot. There are people around you who help you grow, who help you have a good time, who help you be more positive. But there are people around you who drain you a lot of times. Who, not because they probably intentionally do it, but because that's their habit to be draining a lot of times. Right. So instead of helping, they create more of a burden on you. So it doesn't mean that, you hear this a lot in personal development, that, well, get rid of all your negative relationships. A lot of times you can't. Brendan says that, and sometimes it could be your kid that's negative. Can't kick the guy out. But what you can do is spend more quality time with the people that help you grow, whether that be your friends or family or your partner, whoever that is. And that's a really important point that you brought up that a lot of people miss. because I mean, the time is sometimes especially for moms, they're so busy, their time is so limited that, yeah, you should be spending as much time as you can with the people around you, but you should also focus on your growth relationships.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think too, it's about bringing more awareness and intentionality around who you're spending your time with, you know, because it would be very easy for people to say, oh, you know, like, can you come out to coffee with me, you know, this day? Can another person, can you have lunch with me over here? And, you know, like, all kinds of people could potentially be demanding your time. But if those aren't people that are going to bring you some level of joy or you know, happiness, or, you know, bring you new ideas or inspiration, then you might want to evaluate, like, okay, do I want to say yes to this person to go out for a cup of coffee? Is that going to be a good use of my time? You know, you have to kind of evaluate that, as opposed to just saying yes to whatever opportunities come to you.
Yeah, amazing point. Okay, so was that it for that point, or did you want to go into that?
That was it for that point.
Okay.
So then my third one was to keep sources of inspiration coming in, and also to let your kids see that in your life. So, you know, like we kind of touched upon, for me, you know, reading is really important to me, and I read a lot of, you know, books that add value to my life, you know, that make me think differently, that maybe sometimes challenge the way that I've always done things, but give me a new perspective. I think it's important for both, you know, kind of keeping new things coming in, because for people in general, that helps to elevate the quality of your life when you have new things happening. But also, you know, for the kids, I want them to feel inspiration in their lives, you know, and I want them to know that there's ways that they can bring that into their life, you know, that they can, you know, if they have questions, they can read a book, they can listen to a podcast, they can watch a documentary, you know, they can travel, they can seek out experiences that are going to bring them happiness. And I want them to know that that's an important part of my life, because I want it to be an important part of their lives.
Yeah. So that brings me to another question. You mentioned that they should focus on traveling, getting away and stuff. But early on, I've seen quite a few moms, they feel like they can't go anywhere because they have younger kids. They can't do anything because...
For me, that's become a very important part of my life. It might not be for other people, but I think if it is something that really speaks to you, then there are ways to figure it out, you know, to make it happen. You know, like, I'm fortunate I'm able to make traveling happen because I have a really good support system, you know, with my parents, you know, really, you know, help me out tremendously whenever I travel. You know, I have friends who can kind of step in and help, you know, get kids here and there wherever they need to be. You know, and I realize that isn't the case for everybody, but I do feel that if it's something that speaks to your heart, then there are ways to figure out how you can make that a possibility.
What about, let's say, if they don't have the option to travel far, but they can still go to places that they might enjoy even around the area that they're in?
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be traveling like in the form of a big trip. It can be just like going out for the day, you know, to somewhere local, just to mix up your daily routine.
So what another important thing you brought up is the support system. That moms need to be very aware of what their support system is. And yeah, I understand that sometimes that's not the case, but a lot of times people, even if that's one friend, even if that's your parents, even if that's your siblings that can take care of your kid, or that can give you some kind of support.
Yeah.
It's very important that you have that, because you can't do the whole thing alone.
Yeah.
Or at least it's not ideal to do the whole thing alone.
Right. You need, and for me, that's been a challenge, learning how to ask for help. because I think, especially in the days like right after my divorce, I felt like I needed to shoulder everything, and I learned really quick that wasn't going to be sustainable. Like you need to be able to lean on others and rely on others and ask for help. And, my experience with that, generally you ask people for help, they're like super happy to help you. Like you're actually giving them some happiness by reaching out to them. So I think when you start to think of it in terms of that, like you're not being a burden on somebody by asking for help, like you're letting them know that they're important to you and that you appreciate them, and then they can feel comfortable asking you for help too, and it just kind of goes around like that.
No, that's a really great point that you brought up, and that's, I think, a lot of people have challenges with that. I mean, I personally still have challenges with asking for help because I'm used to not asking for help, but we don't realize, and like you said, we feel like, oh, we're going to be a burden, or it's going to be too much on the other person. But what we don't realize, and it's something that a lot of people don't realize, is that think of it from your perspective. When you're helping other people, how do you feel? You feel good. So why wouldn't another human being feel good about that?
Yeah.
Especially if that human being cares about you. They're close to you. And that's
an opportunity.
Yeah, you're giving an opportunity to people to make a difference in your life. Mm-hmm. So that's very important. If you look at it from an evolutionary perspective or sociological perspective, human beings want to care for each other. Mm-hmm. But our drive for contribution is very high. We want to make a difference. We just have to know how. A lot of people don't know how to help, and they don't ask how I can help.
Right.
A lot of times I forget to ask, but then and it gets lost in communication. Yeah. So that's a really good point that you brought up. And you had a fourth point.
Yeah, I have one more. This one's a quick one, but for me too, I think as a mom, especially, it's very easy to get overwhelmed and take on a lot. And I think when you're talking about, trying to grow and enhance your life, it's very easy to have that quickly become something else on your plate. And that's not the purpose. That's not what you want. So my fourth one is to make sure that you're staying present, and not letting, this extra stuff, the extra inspiration that's coming in, might trigger you to say, oh, I want to make all these changes and I need to go do this and do that. And that's not where it's at. That's not what it's about. Like we want to make sure that we're staying in the present moment and really enjoying, like our families and our lives, and, thinking about what needs to leave, what needs to come in, so you can really get that sense of balance, but you want it to be in a simple sort of a way. You don't want it to be in a way that you're going to create all this stuff that you have to do. You don't want to add to your to-do list. You want it to become a natural part of your life, of your day-to-day. So the way to do that is by staying in the moment.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. And it's let's explain a little bit what staying in the moment means, because I had one client who filled out one of my questionnaire, and she's like, how present are you on a day-to-day basis, mm-hmm. or on a daily basis? How present do you feel? That was that sort of question. And she wrote, I have no idea what that means. And that could be the case for many people. Yeah. People don't understand the importance of being in the moment, experiencing life in that moment rather than being all over the place within your mind. So what do you think present means for you?
Well, I think it is about kind of removing that little voice that's in your head, and that little voice can be whatever's happening right now. You could physically be there, but that little voice is saying, oh, like, what do I have to do later on today? What's coming up this week? Or it could be going backwards and saying like, oh, like that conversation that I had, with so-and-so, like, I wonder what they're thinking about that, that voice can be pulling you back or pushing you forward. And then you're not in your present reality, and if you have a kid who's, sitting in the next room, like that's an opportunity, You know, like that's an opportunity for you to, you know, go and sit and be present together and see what comes up.
So how do you make yourself more present when you're around your kids or when you're experiencing life generally?
So it's, for me, it's a lot about awareness, and that's something that I've had to work on over time, and it's something that I still have to, you know, work on. Um, so if I catch myself kind of disconnecting like that, you know, in my head, you know, that I'm here, but I'm not here, then I just consciously bring myself back and like push all the little to-dos and what's happening in my mind aside and focus on what's right in front of me, you know. And so, you know, I'll actively engage, you know, one of the kids, you know, to anchor myself back in the present moment.
Yeah.
There are all kinds of little like grounding techniques and stuff like that that I've learned too, that, you know, you can do really quick to help just kind of center you back to where you are right now.
Good. That's great. And it reminds me of a quote that I always read going around on social media, and it always like makes me think how much people focus on that. So what it says, that quote, it says that kids don't need your presence, they need your presence.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah.
we focus so much on, we want to give our kids a good life, and we want them to have a better life than we did a lot of times, but we lose perspective a lot of times because we're, especially in the West, it's so materially abundant here that we constantly want to go to the store and give them a present. But what happens with that, let's say a toy or whatever you're getting, they're going to play with that for a few minutes and then they forget about it.
Yeah.
But the experience that they have with you, of you sitting down, talking to them, playing with them, experiencing life with them, connecting with them, that's priceless for them.
Yeah.
We forget that a lot of times.
Yeah. You made me think of another quote that I really love. I've been listening to the Minimalist podcast a lot lately, which I love. And they always say at the end of their podcast, they say, love people, use things, because the opposite never works. And I think that speaks to what you're saying too. You know, it's about, you know, your connection with others and about being there in the moment and experiencing things together. It's not about, you know, the material things that, you know, I think as parents too, it's really easy to kind of, you know, bring some of that in because it's harder to figure out how to manage your time so that you can spend more time together.
Yeah. Yeah, and because it's a lot of work, a lot of people avoid it, but it's worth it. And that's what we have to realize. It's not to make you feel bad, but it's for you to realize that it's very important. Those experiences with your child, those will be the prices. I mean, think back to your own life. What are the experiences you remember with your parents? Like for me, when I think back, it's always like one of my oldest memories sitting on my dad's lap in his car. He was it was like just moving in there was no parking lots there back home, but it was just like a small side road, and he was moving me forward. And I always remember that, just that one moment. Yeah. And then another moment where I'm just playing in the yard and my dad is cleaning the roof and we're all playing there with the snow. Mm-hmm. Like these moments create your life. They give you the experiences, the joy, and they help you grow as a person.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to say that toys and material things are not important. They are. They have their place. But they can't be, I mean, I know parents who, just to make their kids stop bugging them to spend time with them, or just to get rid of that annoyance, they just go there and buy them something. And what happens? They train the kid to want more. They're conditioning the kids to want more, and yet then later on they get frustrated. Why are kids asking for more things? And it's like a really bad cycle that you see.
Yeah. And it creates more work for everybody because then you have to maintain all those things and clean up all those things. That's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, that's that we might leave that for another training session. So I think that was all the questions that I have. I think you covered even the next question that I was going to ask. So we talked about how they can be better in their relationship with their children, moms, how they can have better relationships by spending, actually scheduling time with their partners and with their friends, and spending more time with their kids.
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. To add to that, though, I would say I think getting a lot of clarity around like your values and priorities is super important to your relationship. And then checking in with yourself to see if you're behaving in line with those values and priorities. You know, like if you say spending time with my kids is really important to me, but then you're not taking any time to do that in your life, then you're not living in congruence with that, and your relationships are going to suffer because of it.
Yeah.
You know, same thing, you know, like if you're saying, you know, taking care of myself is important because it's going to give me more energy and it's going to model for my kids what I want them to see. But then you look at your week and you haven't spent any time doing that, then, you know, you're not living in congruence with that. And I think that's really important for like creating and maintaining a like high quality of life and relationship.
Okay, I think those are really great points, and I think we added a lot of value for our viewers that are going to be watching this on your side or on my YouTube channel. But let's quickly summarize this, and then we're gonna do we're gonna tell them where they can find you and they can get more support and guidance from you. And you have something that you're offering for our viewers, and I'll tell them what I have for them at the end. But let's summarize those 4 points quickly.
Okay, so in summary, taking care of you has to be a high priority. If you want to be great at being a mom, be great at being a person, you have to be taken care of.
Okay.
Starts with you. Part of that, scheduling time with your partner and your friends, you know, should be up high on your list. Keeping inspiration coming into your life, which will help with your energy, which will help with, you know, showing the kids how to create that in their lives, and staying present.
Great points. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing those amazing points with us. I mean, I've learned a lot from Lisa myself over the years. We've had a lot of conversations about this, and she's taught me a lot about parenting. She's taught me a lot, even though I'm not a mom.
You're a dad.
But she has taught me a lot as a parent. A lot of times she's waited to see what kind of mistakes I make. She hasn't said anything later on because I could see her smile. Well, I'm going to do this. Yeah, right. But later on, I realized that, okay, well, yeah, she let me learn my own lessons, but she has taught me a lot in the process. And I can tell you, if you're a mom watching, it'd be well worth your time to spend that time with Lisa, figuring out how you can raise your level of clarity when it comes to your life, how you can live a more joyful, more fulfilled life with your kids and with your family. So before I go, you can go to my website. There's tons of free content, a lot of videos about personal development, growth, videos about fitness, any area of your life that you need to gain clarity in, what you need to focus on in life, things that they don't teach you in school, basically. But well, not that I have anything against school, but those are the things that we are not taught a lot of times in our within our environment and in our education system. That's a big part of why I started this stuff too. You can go to my website at Faisal Insan. It's going to be below in this video and in the comment section or in the details section. And you can go to Lisa's Facebook page. And Lisa, are you going to tell us what your page is and what you're offering?
It's Lisa Glass Coaching, and that's on Facebook.
Okay, well, you have to tell the whole link. So facebook.com.
Facebook.com/Lisa Glass Coaching.
Okay.
And I have a nice little send message button right there at the top. So you can send me a message if you want to connect. And what I'm offering is a free coaching session. So just send me a message during that session. We'll take some time kind of talking about what's going on in your life that maybe you're currently not happy with, that you'd like to change, and we can kind of create a vision for how and what that would look like to make changes there. So we can do that in that session. And then I have a group coming up that will be starting the first week of December. And people who, want to take advantage of that free session, are welcome to, join the group if that's something that interests them. And it's going to be a group of moms, and we're going to really take some time to dig into some of these areas that we've touched upon today, and just overall ways that you can create value and intentionality and enhance your life.
That's great. Thank you, Lisa, for all those great, all that great value that you're offering even after this video. So make sure you guys take advantage of that. I'm going to put all those details in the I always forget what that's called, but in the details section of this video, underneath.
Down there.
Down there, wherever you see words, look for it. But you can look for it there. It's going to be on my YouTube channel. If you're watching this on my YouTube, it's going to be in the same place, or on my Facebook, or on my Instagram, wherever you see this video. It's going to be somewhere there, or on my blog, on my website.
You'll be able to find it.
Yeah, you'll be able to find it somehow. So it's faisalinsan.com, or you can go visit Lisa's Facebook page at facebook.com/Lisa Glass Coaching. So in case you have a hard time spelling this, I'm going to put this in the details section. Until next time, please tell us what you thought of this video. Any comments, questions, even if those are really hard questions, ask Lisa. She'll answer it. Or I'll try to answer it, not from a mom's perspective, obviously. But we'll both try to answer your questions. Any suggestions you have, we welcome that. And any other training that you want us to do in the future, we'd love to do that for you, but just let us know in the comment section. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day. Thank you, Lisa, for joining us.